Today I'm going to be pruning these trees, and I invite you all to come along with me to see just how I do it. I've got this set up, so I've got the drone up in the air, I've got the GoPro up on top of my head, and this means that I'm going to cut back and forth so that you can see from above, as well as seeing what I'm doing, how I'm seeing things. And this is pretty much a 14-month-old agroforestry system that I've now been working on doing some maintenance in. You can see that this row back behind me is already pruned, that row is already pruned. I've got here this row ready to put some potatoes in next week. Back there I've got the peas already flowering. I've got here these almond trees, they're about to come into bloom as well. And so I've got to come in here and do some pruning. It's springtime, things are about to get crazy, growing a lot, and so I've got to be in here as well to make sure that everything is growing harmoniously, synchronistically together, and that all of these plants are able to support each other instead of bothering each other. And yeah, so this is pretty much the main objective here, is to do a checkup that all the different plants are in their correct levels and that they are able to relate with each other in a harmonious and supportive way, and that they that the presence of them all benefits each other. And of course I've got to do now, I suppose if you're watching this you might be familiar with syntropic agriculture and what this all means and what it is, so I'm not going to get too much into this. But in this moment of the year, for me, it's really important to do this kind of radical pruning, where I'm gonna severely reduce the canopy of these fast-growing trees. What I'm gonna be pruning today is the Tagasaste, the Buddleia, and the Eucalyptus trees back there. The rest I'm not gonna be doing much. They're still very little. And yeah, so I'm gonna get into that, starting here with this Tagasaste tree. And my basic objective is to kind of open up its canopy, because you see since the last pruning it's grown really a lot and it's also quite closed. And so now I'm trying to select it back to these really vigorous and strong shoots and select just a few of them so that they can really grow. And this one here at the beginning of the row is a bit special because I can prune it here to go a bit more in that direction and occupy more of that area, whereas those ones I'm gonna have to keep more to themselves. And so pretty much, first of all, I look for where I'm gonna prune the plant back to and what is most obvious that is going to leave. And for me, I'm gonna prune it back to here. The organic material I'm always going to place here with the fruit tree, and I prune it back to here because like this I maintain this branch, which has these buds that are going that way, which is important to me, and I'm maintaining this branch which is going up and also important for me. It's like a central branch going up. That's going to be the new central leader. And now I'm gonna cut these two back, which are also coming up. That one, because this branch I would like to ask him to go more in that direction. This one coming up here, usually I probably wouldn't remove, I would just prune it back. In this case I am going to remove it because I've got here this almond tree, and in this kind of context I'd like to ask the Tagasaste to kind of stay here below the almond tree. And these ones, just going to clean up a bit to also give some space to the Buddleia below. Some of these smaller intertwining branches I'm just going to remove out of the center so that the tree really just gets to focus on what's going to be most productive now. And yeah, this has been kind of a process for me to find out how I can prune these plants. And yeah, so just try it with the different species that you have at your place. This is a spontaneous plant that I'm just going to cut back to get a bit more of a view into here, but and just try it out with your plants at your place, how they react to which prunings and which times of the year. That's all going to be really important to know on your specific context. And the great thing about nature is that it's forgiving, and so that even if you make a mistake, all right, you might have not the best result for a moment, but things are going to come back, and it's not going to yeah, just die usually. So yeah, the buddleja, I'm kind of doing similar, cleaning out the center of it. I usually also like to remove some of the spontaneous plants that are growing around it so that it can grow a bit better there. And what I'm trying to do with it is keep it a bit lower so that it's kind of growing just like the Tagasaste under the almond tree, that the buddleja is growing underneath the Tagasaste tree. So you see how I've got it structured here already, that this branch is kind of going out that way. This I'm going to remove. And then here on this side, I've kind of already got it set up the same way. Just this one, I'm going to shorten a bit. And this one as well. This one as well. This one goes out. And like this, it's already quite good. And yeah, so now just going to keep doing that here on the other trees. Unfortunately, there's no eucalyptus trees just here right now, but we're going to get some just back there. So I'm just going to keep going and talking a bit about what I'm doing here. Once again, all the organic material goes there to the fruit trees. Got here some stinging nettles. Just going to get those out of the way. Yeah. And so when I start at one specific tree, I usually just try to look for the most obvious stuff that needs to go. Like, for example, here there's these buddleia branches coming up in here. Just to start getting a kind of visibility as to what it is that I'm actually doing. And this then allows me to see better into what I need to be doing. So like, I can't really see which are the good branches when this is all overgrown. So I just look for the bad ones first. And then once I have more visibility, I look for the good ones that I want to leave after the pruning, that I want to promote. And so here again, I've got a buddleia. I'm going to prune that back down by removing the center. And all of these plants have been here since October 2023. They're about 14 months since planting. They were little seedlings at the time. And it's actually, this is the second radical pruning that I'm doing on them just within this growth season. So I did one pruning on them in October 2024. And that's why they have so much new growth right now. And here for me, that is also a really important precondition in order to be able to prune the Tagasaste so strongly again at this point in time. Because if I don't prune them in October, so if I prune them in October, they will invest a lot into vegetative growth, as they are right now. You see, they're purely growing. There's very few flowers. And the Tagasaste is one of those plants that puts a lot of its energy into flowering. And I'm definitely not one of these syntropic guys that is going to tell you that you're not allowed to let your plants flower. Like, that's just really ridiculous to me. But with the Tagasaste, it is actually the case that if you let it flower, it's going to lose a lot of vigor. And because it just invests so much energy into that process, and if you then prune it while it's already flowering, it's gonna get really sad, because it just invested so much energy into making those flowers, and then you come along and you cut all that off, and of course it's just gonna get really, really sad. And so by pruning them already once between October and November, that is here in my case in Portugal, I managed to get them to stay in this vegetative growth state, which then allows me to prune them much stronger again in springtime. So I've got a bit of a situation here. I'm gonna leave both trees for now. What I'm pretty much gonna do, you see there's 2 trees here, and I'm just gonna prune them as if it's one, so that the 2 of them together make the kind of crown that I would like to have from just one. But I already have a feeling that this one is kind of the one that's already having a bit more the desirable crown shape that I would like to have for the tree in the future. So I could also already at this point select, like take this one out and just leave this one, but also there's no necessity. And yeah, while I am pruning these plants quite strongly, I'm also not trying to prune more than what I find to be necessary, because there's a really fine line between a radical pruning and an over pruning. And yeah, so I'm just really not trying to cross that. And the objective of all this is also really definitely not to just get loads of organic material for your plants. The organic material is actually much more valuable if the plants are able to grow with it. But in this case, I'm just really pruning them to promote more new growth. And that I am achieving by doing this radical apical pruning. And apical pruning means that you're removing this kind of, so this is kind of like the apical growth point here of this branch, and I can get it more into detail about that in the future. By removing that, you incentivize the plant to enter into a state of invigorated and accelerated growth. And yeah, so there was a eucalyptus tree there, but that hasn't done so well, so I'm not gonna prune that too much. I just, as you could see, I kind of did some touch up on it, pruning down below, but nothing major. And now we're already here at the second almond tree. It is just starting to open its buds here. And yeah, so now I'm gonna start putting the organic material here with this tree. And at the last pruning that I did here in this field, I put all of the organic material from the pruning there along the back, just for these fast growing trees. So from the pruning in October, I invested all that material back into them. So they have kind of, they should be satisfied right now. And at this point, I would really also like to promote these fruit trees, and that's why I'm concentrating that here. And here you can also see sheep wool that I've added here. And yeah, these eucalyptus trees is now the first case that we have in this line. I'm trying to do is to get them structurally layered even above the Tagasaste, so this is going to be the tallest plant at this moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and just proportionally prune them back. So doing again apical pruning, and you can already see that I pruned it here, just here in October, and everything that is there now has grown since. But with the eucalyptus, you also never just want to prune it back to its stem and leave nothing else standing. You've always got to leave at least, that is with the Eucalyptus globolus at least, you've got to leave at least 6 or 8 of these kind of branches that you can prune back, but you've got to leave them, because otherwise the tree is going to sprout with these kind of strong sprouts from all over the stem, like it's doing here. And I would like it to keep growing here on the top. I'm also going to top this now, just to decelerate that a bit. Yeah, I'm just really trying to get them to grow more here on the top above the other plants, instead of growing here along the stem. And if you have your eucalyptus trees growing from the stem after you prune them, it's likely that you prune them too strongly. Yeah, so now I'm already getting back into the next Tagasaste here. Actually gonna take out all of this, and sometimes a saw will also be useful, but I'm not taking out anything like too major here, so with a good pair of pruning shears you'll also manage to get this job done. And you see, I removed all of this, but as a result I have now here these 2 branches that are now going to be the new dominant players inside this tree, and they're going to replace this, and until 1 year from now they can definitely get this thick again. Like, this is a super fast growing plant. And so yeah, by removing that one from the center, you're just promoting all these new ones to come, and just keeping all the trees always pumping out with fresh new growth, and super healthy. This fresh new growth, as you can see, there's no diseases that attack it, there's no blemishes on it, and it's just creating, it's actually doing much more photosynthesis than these overaged branches. And within this type of agriculture, it is our goal to improve the conditions for photosynthesis and to accelerate photosynthetic processes on the site, which in turn will improve the conditions for all the rest of life. So all the microorganisms, all the different bugs and animals, and all this food chain that is a result of photosynthesis. And actually everything that we eat, our whole livelihood in that sense, stems originally from photosynthesis. Whether it's life in the ocean, where it starts with the plankton, or whether it's on Earth, where it all starts with the plants doing photosynthesis, transforming sunlight energy into sugars, and then there's this whole food chain above that. And so our goal within this type of agriculture is to optimize photosynthesis and to promote photosynthesis on all the different layers, and through that achieve accelerated recovery of the ecosystems, more fruit production on our fruit trees, healthier plants without pests and diseases, and I'm gonna do this one here, prune them back to there, prune this one back to here. So once again, I'm trying to focus these buddleias a bit down and out and under, so that's kind of cool here. Yeah, and it can come across the bed above the, like past the other trees, as long as it's not laying on top of anybody. And this is also a point where you sometimes see people making mistakes. Is like, for example, here, eucalyptus tree, last time I didn't remove these lower branches, but this time I will, just because it's actually here in the space of this Tagasaste tree. And you see immediately this Tagasaste tree here, this portion of it, has its own space now. Whereas before, that was kind of in conflict here. And so what you're trying to do is just really like structurally harmonize the presence of all these different plants. And you just do that in these key moments in the year. For me in Portugal, and for most of the rest of the Mediterranean region or climate in the northern hemisphere, this will be between 1st in October, 2nd February. That's the ideal moments, but kind of extends. First you have like October on into November, and maybe even a little bit still in December, but the earlier the better there. And then the same in springtime, so you can start in February, and the sooner you get it done the better, but can go on into March and maybe beginning April if you have irrigation and depending on your soil. And here, you know, like all of this work is also very context specific. So you're never trying to work with the plants just as individuals, but trying to see how they all relate with each other. And here, for example, we've got this almond tree, and the eucalyptus is having here clearly a branch coming right up above it. And so these two branches that are here on top of the almond tree, I'm just going to remove them. And if that fruit tree wasn't here, I wouldn't do that. But it's just the presence of this fruit tree that, of course, I want to promote, that now resulted in the decision to prune that back to there. Got this. Seems good. Now the buddleja comes down one level as well, and I kind of select the branches so that this all stays a bit more neat and less messy, more light coming through. I've got here these kind of suckers from the rootstock on the almond tree. I'm gonna take those out, and I'm gonna just do this one last Tagasaste tree with y'all before putting in some last words and continuing by myself. And really, like, what could be better than being in nature, working with the plants, listening to the birds, in this kind of meditative work. And yeah, I think I'm happy with this for this video. I've got some more to go here, got a lot more to go that way and this way. But yeah, I thank you all for tuning in. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you have any wishes for future videos, topics that you'd like me to address, make sure to put that down below. Let me know if you like this format with the drone and the GoPro on top of my head. I hope this works out, that it's clear and explaining well what I'm doing here, or what I'm trying to do here. And yeah, also, if you have any more questions about this work and you'd like to learn more about it, I've got my in-person workshops here on the farm. The next one's on April 4th till, I think it's on April 4th. So check that out on my website, growback.eu, and I'll see you all there.